gives them an opportunity to get in and for us to check on the feeds and make sure they're actually working. I see LinkedIn is working. And Facebook too.
Snap.
All right. Smooth. Sweet. Think anyone in your neck of the woods is going to be watching you today, Spencer?
I've had a few people reach out.
They say, "What are you, crazy going on there?"
No, it was, I got this. It's like prepared to get heckled. And I'm like, I would expect nothing more.
Good.
Is that what we're known for?
By us or by the people commenting?
Probably
I think
comments.
the people commenting.
Yeah, I know Jeff's the worst. He definitely heckles the hell out of every guest.
Who?
You.
No.
I think that's usually me.
I was going to say.
It's the car business. You're supposed to do that.
That's what they say.
If you don't have a thick skin, you can't do it.
For sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a thick-skinned business.
Especially now.
I was going to say it's lightened up a lot over the
not
years.
now. Yeah, I take that back. I think especially when markets return and people realize that they got to learn to sell again.
I'm seeing more and more articles. I can't remember where I just saw it. Actually, it was a Facebook post where I don't know. I think it's some type of media outlet. And there's been a couple of them just around dealerships marking up their prices as much as they are. And it was the example that they used in the post was a Mercedes G-Class that sold for $130,000 over MSRP. And of course, it's funny to read the comments because some people, your average consumer is bitching about it. Oh, we'll remember what dealerships did this. And it's quite entertaining going through and read. And it's like most of the cars that are marked up like that.
Well, Jeff, you're going to get cut off in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We are live with the ghost of Spencer, the blur man. I don't know. What are we?
This is protecting my identity.
There we go. Yes, this is witness protection today. So, yeah, welcome to Refresh Friday, everybody, and pretty excited to have Spencer on. Spencer, we didn't really communicate much when I was at dealer.com, but Larry H. Miller was a very important client, and they made a lot of visits out to Vermont, and I thoroughly enjoyed spending time with them. And now, having worked with you over the last year has been fantastic as well. I've really enjoyed getting to know you because the way your brain works is pretty spectacular. You brought some revelations to me that it really opened my mind to a few things, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I think that what you've got to say today is going to be very interesting for those who aren't aware of what you've been participating in with Google and is about to launch this month.
Top secret.
Yeah.
Hence the witness protection blur.
Yeah, I swear I paid my internet bill. I swear I did this month.
I think it's Utah to Vermont. Something's just not lining up there.
What is your position at Larry H. Miller?
I'm no longer there. When I was there, I was the senior vice president of advertising.
Okay. Yeah, I figured there weren't any more of it. I wasn't sure.
That's how we got him, Jeff. We gotta get him.
Yeah, my role and responsibility.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
That'd be heads down at work.
My role and responsibility. Well, I said my role and responsibility back then was to make sure that oversee the advertising budgets for all the automotive group, the tier 2 kind of their brand, as well as the 63 rooftops in 7 states.
And that was a recent change. So
Correct.
You haven't had the opportunity to go sit on the beach and drink umbrella drinks yet.
Not yet, but my wife is hounding me to make that happen really quickly.
So, Spencer, before we dive into, what's going on, we should probably take a few steps back and explain what this beta was.
Okay. So about February of last year, Google launched what they were calling their vehicle listing ads, and they're dubbed it as VLAs. VLAs represent basically opened up the category of their shopping ad units to the automotive industry. And they came out to a select group of people and wanted to open up to an alpha, which our organization was a part of that alpha. It was used inventory only, and they wanted to kind of test a theory that visual searching and merchandising of the vehicles would entice shopping. And I will emphatically tell you it worked. So that alpha quickly moved into late Q4, or I guess early Q4 of last year, moved into the beta phase. They opened it up to a little bit of a larger group. I see that Amanda Harris asked a question, is it still in beta? Yes, it is still in the beta phase. And signals that I got as of this month, they're going to open up the inventory to not only just used, but as well as new inventory is part of the next step of the beta. And the signals I was given is that sometime this year, it will be opened up to general market. Whether that changes or not, that's not for me to say.
Do you know how many dealerships or groups that are on the initial beta?
I don't. I know it's pretty easy once you start doing some VLA searches and you start getting served up. You can kind of figure out some of the larger publics, some of the larger private groups are on it. But yes, they kind of started big, and I think it's just kind of waterfalling down to the rest of the groups.
Yeah, I've only seen Carvana, Vroom, and CarMax in any of the returns I've gotten, but I'm up in the, Ver Canada. So
I do know that Sonic is on it. I do know that Asbury's on it. There's a couple of the larger groups that are on it. Yes.
Gotcha. And so it was interesting to me when you brought this up. I'm a little weird. I tried to divorce myself from Google a long time ago, and it's been rather successful personally. But we still use it for business and for advertising and whatnot. But I don't really use the search engine, so I was shocked to go in and see how much of the type ahead has changed. When it came to searching for a car, because they have now the thumbnail of the vehicle, and then they're not offering up any of the near me's or for sales or any of those extra little words that used to go on the type ahead. So, it's like they're just trying to send you into a very generic model search now, which I assume fits into this.
Yes. So I look through this trying to look through the lens of Google. And if you say to look through Google, they try to do two things, either create demand or capture demand. I mean, that's kind of their North Star, going back to their other principle of big and simple beats small and complex every single time. This is an ad unit that addresses that overwhelming demand in the market right now. I mean, I don't care what data you want to follow, you can't find a car. You want a car, it's off the charts. So if I've got a North Star of how to capture this demand, Google is eliminating that near me because it doesn't matter because I'm going to look for everywhere. way that you can now take delivery almost anywhere else you're seeing, to get these cars across the country. Your network is getting bigger, and if I can eliminate click paths, it makes my experience better. And it's a paid performance model. Typical Google, I don't want you to pay up front. I'll give you all the tools for free, and then
Mhm.
you bid on it. And based on the consumer's preference, it's a much, much better way to reach your audience, in my opinion.
Well, speaking of that, there's a question from the audience about some of the KPIs you saw during that period. Is there anything you can share?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'll speak in very uh, broad terms, out of respect for, previous life and previous organization. But we saw anywhere from a 30 to 35% lower cost per lead, cost per session, um, on any of the CTAs we were looking at, which is significant. We were looking at anywhere of north of 50% more higher time on site engagement because it takes you right to the VDP. So all signs were pointing to this is a much more efficient way to spend the money. I don't know. I'm going to share my screen because I don't know how many people actually seen the inventory ad and what it looks like.
When you say a 35% lower cost per session, when you were comparing that, were you comparing it just to general traffic as a whole, or were you, putting that up against some other type of media source?
Well, my media director, one of the things we sat down and kind of said, okay, if we're going to go down this road, let's benchmark this against our current ad strategy, our current
Hmm.
paid search, our current paid structure. And when you put
Okay.
those same performance metrics up against them, and our role and responsibility is to be as efficient with the money as possible, this is a much more efficient way to spend the money for the ROI.
Gotcha.
So if you can see my screen, these are the ad units. As you can see, I typed in my search criteria was just 2018 F-150. And you can see based on the inventory that is available, these are all the units that come up. So when you see, so here is a Sonic ad, Echo Park. There is not an Echo Park in the state of Utah, but it served me up based on this. Again, expanding the horizon, and they tagged a geo modifier into it. You can see CarMax is in there. But again, so if I'm wanting to know what the user experience is, so here is a 2018 Ford F-150. If I click on that, I am now immediately on the VDP of
Of the
the
dealership
car.
website. Yeah.
Correct. So I've
That's
now
quick.
bypassed, very, very quick. I have bypassed all of the,
I think that
um,
opened in a new window, so we might not be seeing it,
oh, it
but
didn't. Oh, I apologize.
it's all right.
But as you can see, now I'm scrolling horizontally, whoops, to see all
Mm-hmm.
the inventory, not necessarily looking at vertical searches, top of page. And it's a shopping ad unit we're all familiar with from other verticals.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we discussed this yesterday. It's like, why did it take so long for them to implement this? Because this ad unit's been around forever, and you got to wonder,
Who
like,
knows?
it's always made sense to have it in automotive, but why? Was there some other factors that went into taking so long to introduce this?
I'd be curious to know. Do I think Google ever say that? No. But if I am
Probably
right
not.
now, I look at this as what an opportunity to strike while the iron's hot. And
Hmm.
I'll say something a little taboo. This to me is a category killer for the third party sites. I would be very worried if I was the third parties because, from my perspective, the cost inventory acquisition costs are going up. Again, follow the data. Used car values are all time high. You can't get new inventory, and it's going to be this way for the foreseeable future. So if I factor in my inventory costs, leasing, if you will, my inventory to a third party site, which is a monthly subscription fee, advertising units, I have to build that into my cost somehow.
Hmm.
Versus I now have a free I actually upload my inventory feed. It's free. That doesn't cost me anything. I can set my advertising budget based on what I want for a particular inventory, and it only works if it clicks. So if I'm merchandising my cars correctly, I am having the right modifiers in my VDP stuff, you are going to lower your inventory costs right out of the gate because you have to factor in your marketing PVR. So,
Hmm.
and the user experience, I've eliminated click paths. I've eliminated ecosystems that I may or may not like, pop ups, anything along those lines. Tell me why the consumers aren't going to be able to use this more and more.
Well, there's no, and I don't know if they'll ever implement this, but there's no drill down. So the search result is very broad. So if you're looking for something a little bit more specific, more than just a year model, especially if maybe you're looking for certified, or
Jeff,
Carfax,
that's a
which
great
you're
question.
going to
So
click
here's an
over to the
interesting
VDP,
piece.
and I get it. You're going to click over to the VDP on the dealership website, and it should have all that information. But it's not all there on one page where you can look at 12 plus cars and go, oh, this one isn't this one. And of course, then you can't redefine your search in order to get those, at least not yet. And maybe there is, and I'm just not aware of it.
It is, and you're not aware of it. So again, I'm going to
Okay.
talk through the evolution of what we first saw. Inventory feed was just make model year. That was what it started
Mm-hmm.
out as. Then it became part of, again, the alpha betas. Then it became part of, we could upload down to the trim levels. You can, it is anything in your inventory feed, you can
Okay.
push into this. So again, if I'm Google and you get into the debate of long tail searches or not, I know dealers emphatically will pay more for and put a different bidding strategy if I'm looking for a Cummins diesel, in a Silverado type thing, or a particular. I want to overpay for that ad unit,
Mm-hmm.
um, just by doing this. And yeah, it is. It is an auction model. It's a great auction model. But again, if I am paying to lease my inventory somewhere else, I would much rather have my inventory win from an auction standpoint than I would from a leasing my inventory to an offsite lot on an online space that doesn't why
Mm-hmm.
the demand's so high. I don't need to do that anymore.
It's funny you were saying that as Alex Vetter was chiming in with that comment too, another auction model. Um, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're right. It is another auction model. I'm just wondering, obviously once every dealership's on this, and I'm sure many will gravitate towards it, where's that cost per click going to go? How high?
Who knows? Again, I've got no secret sauce to this, but if I'm again
Yeah.
following the data, we all saw what Facebook took in their last quarter financials with the Apple privacy thing, and third party cookies are getting more and more difficult to deal. This is first
Mm-hmm.
party data, and Google, we saw their financials. If I look at first party data, this is my inventory. It's my first party, my feed, my ad channel, my everything, and it's kicking back to my first party website. I don't need to worry about the third party cookies anymore. I'm bypassing that structure, living in an ecosystem that works for me. And who knows? It's again, if I am a third party endemic, I'm getting caught between the Facebook marketplace on one side and I'm getting caught between this VLA ads that are going to come on the other side. It's a interesting landscape right now.
Mm-hmm.
got a question from George Ninny here. Um, do we think that more than 50% of third-party classifieds traffic is from organic Google search? And will the VLAs likely shrink that?
I I'm going to answer this from my perspective. I don't know if I can answer that specifically. Third party endemics are getting relevancy based on inventory. As dealers, as we keep feeding them our inventory, they keep feeding the relevancy of finding that. If I pull that inventory away from those third party sites, their relevancy goes down because inventory is king. So I may, I probably am not gonna. If that inventory feed changes and it goes to a different place, and I've got Google and I'm running my own platform, follow the money. Google's going to want to promote their own platform versus a third party. I mean, it's not hard to make that assumption. I guess the other piece of the puzzle is this speaks to an SEO play because if I'm properly merchandising my vehicles, I'm properly taking the pictures. properly, having the right VIN explosions on my own VDP, then yes, that's going to make my content more relevant. And it all goes back to that first party stuff, not the third party cookies that we've historically been relying on.
We should also point out there's another comment here from Alex Vetter. Probably going to get a call from somebody at Cars after this, Spencer, would be my guess. But he's referencing a study that would definitely be worth looking up, in regards to why did CPG pull out of an auction model, and then Facebook ate Google's lunch. So
to be clear, I am solution agnostic. I am not saying that Cars and or Auto Trader, any of the third parties, there's a seat at the table for everybody, in my opinion. I don't know exactly what he's referencing other than my familiarity with the CPG is they were looking at the artificial clickbaits. They were artificial. They don't inflating the values, so forth, so forth, so forth. That's way above my level of understanding and how it works. Does it exist? Sure, it does. Is clearly look at what the privacy, what Apple's going after, what Google's been going after. They're all trying to get more transparent with the online advertising space. And again, if I am a third party, I'm going to want to control my ecosystem. It's their numbers versus, we always have this as a dealer. You have every vendor showing up, showing you, I sold you 100 cars. Well, if you add up every single vendor by the end of the month, you should have sold 400 cars. And it's attribution. And you go back to this trusting attribution model. And unfortunately, Google has the most trust on the internet. And consumers are going to trust and they're going to vote with their clicks. And I think it's a great place to, for me, as a standpoint, I look at the auction model as simply as a third party versus Google. Put it out there and let the consumer vote. They'll show you what they want by their clicks.
Alex, you there?
The-
Did we lose Alex?
Oh, sorry. I had my mute button on so you wouldn't hear me typing. I was trying to get over to Facebook real quick to figure out what line of comments were going on here. The order, at least.
So you mentioned the merchandising aspect of this. What exactly are they looking at and how that ties into SEO? I'm wondering, if you're going to be putting resources towards SEO, would it make sense to really obviously focus on your VDPs? But did they give you any clue? Like, is there certain things that have more weight to it when it comes down like the photos, comments, obviously VIN explosion, et cetera?
So if I'm looking at this ad unit right here, again, what's important? It's the car, it's the pictures. They're never going to come out and say, this is what matters. They're going to give you signals of, hey, make sure your car pictures are correct. Hey, make sure the VIN explosion's the right way. Make sure all the trim levels. They're going to hint to all those things. Again, if I take from a retail perspective, I'm not going to buy a car unless I see the right picture. I'm not going to buy a car unless I can see the right video walkarounds, all those things. We are visual creatures. We're visual storytellers, and this is just a visual ad unit. And I think the best thing you can do is merchandise your cars correctly. Put the right pictures out there. Get them speed to market. That's right now. People are going anywhere to buy the car. It is Google saying, yes, the demand is very high. Let me capture that demand by creating an ad unit that's very, very accessible.
It's interesting. Since he turned me on to this, I've been playing around in Google a bit more, and I've noticed some of the third party sites, or one in particular, is rarely showing up on the first or second page, at least for mine. Like Cars.com, definitely up at the top. Car Guru's a bit further down, but I have yet to find the other one without paging through. And I've done a lot of searches here. And maybe that's just me. Maybe my profile is saying don't show that one, but
Who knows?
Honestly, I can't speak to that other than I go back to the same premise of, who's got the inventory and where's the inventory. And if my inventory isn't on somebody else's site, it's not going to show up. That's the only thing I can speak to that would make logical sense to me.
Yeah. So on the new
Wonder what
car, when the new car side gets out there, we should probably assume that new car inventory photos are going to be a big part of this equation. So if
Yeah.
it's like nothing but stock images, it's an Evox photo for every car, that's not going to fly very well.
Yeah, and again, I just saw Paul's correct, Paul. Not only are TrueCar and Car Gurus on this program, but the other third parties everybody's gonna be on this. Vroom, if you look at just Vroom's just an inventory aggregator. Of course, I want to have this. Again, there's a room for everybody, in my opinion, but you need to make a business decision and look at it strictly through the lens of inventory costs. If my inventory acquisition costs are at a point that I can afford to lease my inventory online to somebody else, go for it. If your inventory acquisition costs you want to keep them in line, this is a great way to take some of those costs away. And when it becomes general market, run your inventory yourself. It's your inventory feed. It's nobody else's inventory feed. And handle your inventory the way you want. But again, from an attribution standpoint, to whether it's going through a TrueCar and Auto Trader, if you got your Google Analytics set up correctly, you'll be able to see where these attribution points are coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Again, follow the data.
Well, maybe
Someone asked earlier. Never mind. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just we got Bill Vaughn's late here, so should we start over for him?
No.
Just kidding. Here's some heckling right here. This is that one's at me. Spencer was expecting more heckling. You guys are letting him down.
It's early.
Were there any were there any other stats that you saw coming out of this that you could reference?
One of the things that I thought was very interesting was a lower cost per chat session. We saw that.
Really?
What it speaks to is this is designed to be I personally hate using the marketing funnel, but this is definitely somebody that knows what they're looking for. They've clicked on it. They've bypassed a lot of the click paths that historically people don't want to do. I mean, we all know it. We've all experienced this from a click path. Even on our dealership website, you're getting past pop-ups, you're getting past all those things. But what it really saw was a lower cost per chat session. So I'm on the VDP. I like the inventory. Now I want to know more. And that's an engagement tool. And again, I have yet to meet a dealership in America that says, please don't give me more opportunities to talk to people. And if I can do that with a lower cost per acquisition, what's the downside?
Do you know if they're going to, if someone searches for a specific dealership and their GMB comes up, how's the inventory going to reflect on that type of search? Do you have any idea?
Well, GMB is a totally different product, and Google will tell you when you meet with them, the GMB team is completely separate. They don't look at that they look at that more of as an SEO type play, not necessarily a paid advertisement channel. Yes, dealerships can upload their dealer feeds into the Google My Business. Yes, there are ad units in there. Yes. So again, for example, if I am looking at inventory, I see something that I may think works for me, but I can go to a specific dealership search, and inside that GMB window and that little, I can do virtually the same thing there. Again,
Okay.
So if I'm Google on those first results search pages, I've got you at the top. I've got you on a directory listing. It's a pretty powerful place.
Have either of you guys used this feature in other retail environments? Just curious.
I haven't used Google for a while, so no.
Well, that comes to another question. I wonder what the market share for Google is now. I mean, obviously Chrome's huge, But I wonder if they're seeing a drop off as more and more people discuss around privacy. I know, Alex, you don't use Google anymore or the Chrome browser. I very rarely use it. I'm either on DuckDuckGo or Brave. So again, it's huge. I mean, we're talking small numbers here, so it's probably irrelevant.
I can say that I often interact with the DuckDuckGo shopping piece, which is exactly like this.
Oh, really?
But I haven't really done any car searches and played with it that way, but definitely like products, electronics, and things like that. Yeah, for sure. And bought some stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I can speak through my lens, and I'm okay with people following me. I'm okay with the things that make sense to me. What I want is a better experience, and I don't want to get the random ads or the random things. Like, I'm out on that stuff. But as long as you keep serving me the things that are topical and relevant, I'm okay with it. And if I look at the length of a car buying purchase, car buying is there's so many stats out there of how long it takes to purchase, whether it's 10 days, 30 days. COVID's changed everything in the last little while of what our car buying experience is like. But bottom line, I believe there's more questions being asked. And whether it's what's my car value? The question is this available? Can I buy it online? What does it really mean to buy it online? There's so many more questions being asked. And I believe these are platforms to express that. And I did see, I think it was Alex talked about the inventory aggregator versus putting out content. Yeah, there's still relevance. There's still a large appetite of people wanting to put out content and doing research. And the endemics are great. But if you even look at the market share, I mean, follow the data. I mean, the top 3 endemics combined don't have the same share that, Google has. And it's okay. There's room for everybody. Let's just give the consumer an opportunity to make it an easy click path. They'll vote.
Mm-hmm. So the future of this thing up here, I mean, well, before we go there, sorry. Another thought popped in my head. So, we're all excited about, a new Google product because they've all been so much fun over the years to try and navigate and implement. But, it's another area where we're going to be sitting here guessing at like, what do I need to put on my VDP to get it to pop here further, be further to the left. Just like, what does my H1 and my meta tag and all that stuff for SEO purposes need to be? I see that being a wonderful enigma we get to play with next. But go ahead, Spencer. I see you gotta.
I was going to say it's coming because right now it's just like anything. They don't know. And I love every time somebody figures it out, we all go to the same conferences, the same circuits. Somebody will get up and say, I've cracked the code. What do we all do? We pounce, we do that same thing. And then what does Google do? They change the game, move the goalpost. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful, it's a persuasion technique. It's rejection substitution. Nope, you can't have that. And I'll substitute it for something else. Next thing you know, you're moving on. Who knows? Again, if I'm looking at the signals of how this horizontal search works, clearly there is a factor of pictures. There's clearly a factors of price. Clearly there's factors of trim levels. There are so many things that you can, manipulate yourself. My advice is trial and error. And I made this comment to you guys yesterday. I've yet to meet a used car manager that doesn't believe his used cars are better than anybody else. He buys them better than anybody else. He recons them better than anybody else. They are the best. And cool. This is actually a really good test to believe if your used car manager really is put their money where their mouth is. And you've got a window to say, great, here you go. Let's see if these pictures work. Let's see if your guy, really is the person.
Oh, so get vAuto. This is the next. So after vAuto started that, how good is my used car manager? Now we've got Google coming in on the second wave.
I am one voice out there, but I think there's some sound logic behind it.
Well, we've got a question from Rachel. So how did you determine your VLA budget?
There's a lot to that from a macro standpoint. It was okay. There's only because it's in the alpha stage, back then and even into the beta. There's only so much demand. I can't. It was very small at first, and then you maxed it, and then okay, let's focus on a specific trim level or a specific hot product. What the dealership day supply looked like. There was a lot of factors that went into it. My advice to somebody that's looking at that is look at your current velocity, what your current day supply is, what's your core product. Um, Talk to your used car manager, find out if they've got a particular preference of what they like, and then see what your response is. The consumer will vote, and you'll find out very, very quickly. Do I need to pivot? If you do, adjust. If there's not, move on.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this something that's going to be easy for the dealership to manage? Or is this something that a dealership's going to maybe want to outsource the management of?
The answer is yes. I think one of the beauties of the tier 3 space is there isn't a single dealership that looks and acts the same. If the recipe was the same for every single tier 3 dealership, we wouldn't need all of the different thought processes, the different sales processes. It would be the exact same across the country. I think if you have somebody inside the store that can understand this, use it and execute it as part of your advertising strategy, keep it in-house. If you need to outsource it, don't be afraid to hire for your weakness and bring in somebody that's a trusted partner. And again, most dealerships require some sort of buying service to be on program with the OEM. If you're a new car franchise, if you want to be on program, it's pretty easy to figure out who the people are that have access to this kind of stuff from being on and on program. They're all good. They're all pluses and minuses. It's really what you want to work with your business. But again, it's follow the money. Last time I checked, Google is a for-profit organization, and they're going to want to play with the people that have access to the money. And if you want access to these things, you got to run in a different level.
Yeah. So I wonder what other things are going to smash into those little boxes up there.
Yeah.
One of the things I hope is some ad extensions. If you look at the evolution of paid search, ad extensions underneath, it's no longer, you want to have some of the descriptors, you want to have some of these online retailing solutions, addresses. There's so many things that we're used to in our vertical searches. You would assume that stuff is going to come in these horizontal searches as well.
Yeah, I got to wonder, will this mature into something different because I believe if it's other retailers, if you hit the shopping button, if you click on that, then it opens up a full page. Does that work the same with this?
Yeah.
There you go. And there's your drill down. Of course, it's got parts and everything else included.
Yeah.
And of
Again,
course, there's where they could add a few more information bytes on the vehicle.
Correct. And if I'm a dealer, again, I need a swing at the bat. And if I'm looking to find a way to make my advertising dollars be more efficient, this is a great way to do it efficiently. It is now going to be new and used inventory. That's fantastic. If you're a dealership that gets more inventory than somebody else, you're obviously going to win. It's unit count. If you have a niche with used cars, I think you're going to probably win. I think if you merchandise your cars a specific way, you got a good chance of winning. There's so many ways to win in this. And that's, again, why I'm so bullish is you have levers you can pull yourself, trial and error, and you're in an ecosystem that is yours. It's not a third-party cookie that you're relying on. Use your first-party data. That's what we all want. And move with it.
Yeah. So this, I know one of the things that you missed was the data you used to get from Facebook. What do you envision this enlightening you to?
So Facebook, if it's inside the walled garden at Facebook, man, it's a very rich data source. You can learn a lot. It's very productive. Just like if I live inside the walled garden of any quote unquote vendor or platform, the data is very, very rich. What we're trying to look for, I have a very pedestrian approach to life, and I I use this history lesson. There's two gentlemen. You had a gentleman by the name of Ptolemy. He looks up in the sky and he says, "Wow, I see the sun, and the Earth revolves around the sun. It's the Earth is the center of the universe. All the planets are revolving around us." This gentleman named Galileo comes along hundreds of years later, and what Galileo says, "Man, this Ptolemy guy, he's full of shit. The Earth isn't the center of the universe. The sun's the center of the universe, and we're all flying around it." I think we as car people love to think our universe has the gravitational pull that everybody needs to get in line. And whether that's my own dealership, whether that is Facebook, whether that's a third party, insert name here. Let's be honest, the center of the internet is Google. That is the gravitational, I guess we're all flying in the planets around there. And I think once you can kind of step back and see how the gravitational pull of everybody works, you can make yourself go faster if you can understand that versus trying to say, "No, I'm just different. Come play over here, then you will be happy." I had multiple vendors say, "If you just spend your money the way I want you to spend it, then you will be happy." They're not wrong. I would be happy because if I spend it their way, they're going to come back and show me every stat in their universe is why you need to double down on this. Again, the role and responsibility I had to play was to make sure all of those planets are working together in the right gravitational pull. And people don't like to be told, "Hey, I'm going to reduce this spend to make this work over here," and vice versa. But again, at the end of the day, profitability fuels your opportunity. And if you're selling more cars, your PVRs are going down, your data, any metric of success, if you're tacking back to that and it's working, keep doubling down. If it's not, pivot and adjust.
You got to give a shout out to Ryan Everson, and I'm talking while I'm also digesting what you just said. I love your going back to Galileo, but Ryan Everson in the comments today has been pretty spot on with some things, and I think at some point, Spencer, you two should chat. I think you both would get a lot from each other. But
I believe Ryan made this prediction in his yearly prediction post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he brought that up early on. Yep. And then there was Rick Buffkin. Always got to throw out for Rick. But so Rick, they are off basically the same. Yeah. The model works, right?
Well, going back to, if I could touch on Ryan's prediction, that's a very interesting prediction. Let's look through the lens of social media. One of the reasons why Facebook, we have two identities on the internet. You've got an authentic identity and you've got a corrupt IP address. I've yet to meet somebody that has the IP of a home laptop. We'll just use that example. If I search for something, my wife uses it for something else. You don't know who's using that. But if it's my Facebook account, that is an authentic identity. That's me. It's my searches. It's a very powerful place to be. And I always like to give the example of, if you don't believe that what you search inside Facebook is private, makes you concerned, open up your Facebook app or Instagram and give it to somebody else. Just hand your phone to somebody else. You will squirm so fast because I don't want people to know, what am I looking at, or who's, I don't like that. Oh, weird type thing. But going back to this, what Facebook has done is you can click, or, do you want to sign in with Facebook? They have all that information. There's a reason why we're all gathering that, because it's that authentic identity. Think about from a Chrome standpoint, to Ryan's point about this lead form extension, they have all my data. If I'm logged into Chrome, they know it's me in there. You can see my profile up in the corner. They know that what I'm searching, it's mine. It's a version of an authentic identity, if you will. So why wouldn't you put a one-click lead form in there and submit that? I have to believe that's coming sooner than later. That's a great point, Ryan.
Makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
It's
don't know
still
about you,
scary
I
how
sure
much
love filling
information
out
they
lead
have.
forms.
Yeah.
So when this is still in beta, they're about to add new cars. When do you see this going to market?
The signals I was given was sometime in 2022. Whether that still
Okay.
happens or not, I mean, it's Google's time frame, but I think
Yeah.
that was the initial roadmap.
I'm sure all the dealerships will be getting calls from their paid search providers to jump on this.
It's another excuse to double your ad budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. How many dealers? I don't know if this stat's really out there or not, but I know of quite a few have really cut back on their paid search budgets, especially since COVID.
Well, and I got to wonder if this wasn't a reason. Again, they've had this element for so long across other verticals, and seeing the so many dealerships, and we've discussed this many times on Refresh Friday, is how many dealerships have really cut back in their paid search. I mean, I went dark in paid search for almost 2 years, just got back into it just a little bit, very small budget. Um, it works a little bit, but will dealerships and the vendors, they'll just say, hey, put all the money towards this, or do you think they'll sort of keep some of those older campaigns going as well? I don't know.
It's a great speculation. Again, if I'm an operator and I'm sitting in the chair and I'm responsible for my advertising PVR, I'm going to try to maximize the inventory I have available. Right now, that's all I can do. I cannot control the new cars. Uh, I explained this to you guys yesterday. Is an industry, we've been an industry of hunters. We find a customer, you kill it, you eat it, you move on to the next one. We've had to pivot to become farmers. I am experiencing a cultural shift because of the lack of new car availability right now. So becoming a farmer, I'm not used to planting a seed, nurturing it for a few months, and then having it harvest later on. And the way I look at that is, customer wants to buy a new car. I don't have that, but if you give me a deposit today, we can get you in the order system. And now you at the dealership are managing. You're at the mercy of the factory of whether we've got road blockages in Canada, whether there's a weather event in Texas, whatever thing we can't control, you're at the mercy. And that car may come in 3-6 months. Your role and responsibility now at the dealership is to keep them emotionally attached, so they don't get impatient and settle for a secondary or a tertiary choice. So we don't know how to operate as a retail body. This is new territory for all of us. So if I have the inventory now and I still want to have that hunter mentality, if you will, I'm going to maximize my money of saying, okay, I have this on the ground. I can advertise these products. Visual searches always work better. First party data always works better. Let's follow those lines and be more efficient with your ad dollars. I like Chris's comment here. He's never met an ad agency that couldn't spend all your money. 100%. 100%. Just like I've never met a car dealer that doesn't know how to make gross. We all are really good at what we do. But at the end of the day, what we need to do is have some puzzle pieces that allow you to be more efficient with your ad dollars. Double down on those. If it doesn't work, pivot and adjust.
Yep, I feel the same way, Rick.
Well, I guess it's going to get interesting here in 2022, huh?
It isn't already?
Well, of course.
We're just getting started, Jeff.
Again, I apologize for another history lesson. I'll never forget my sophomore year. My English teacher made me memorize, I think it was more of a punishment, the first part of the book, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, right? And that opening line of, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. And I can't think of a better paragraph quote to describe the last 2 years than that. When the pandemic first hit, we all thought we were going to be shutting our doors and what's going to happen. By the end of that, the dealership retail profits have been staggering. It's almost incomprehensible. There's still people making horrible decisions. It's whatever side of the line you're on, but look at the people look how fast things have changed and cultural shifts that needed to happen in the industry that have never happened before. And I don't believe it would have happened without the pandemic. And I've said this to other business operators. If you could take your business, strip off all the barnacles off your boat that you hated, come out of it more profitable, more streamlined, and it would suck. It would be miserable. Would you do it? I have yet to meet a business owner that said they wouldn't do it. That's what's happened to the automotive industry. It's just now, do we fall back to what we know, or do you kind of reach up to the new expectations and embrace change? That's going to be the new question.
Very true.
Whole lot of owner changes out there.
Yeah, that as well.
Speaking of that,
well.
I was reminded of a show we did in December. We usually have Cliff Banks on, and he helps us close down the year with predictions and things that have happened throughout the year. And he said that take the number of acquisitions, dealership acquisitions that had occurred in 21, and he said there was already a backlog for double that amount going into 22. So
he did.
So a thought on NADA, because I know the question's out there right now, who's going, all that good stuff. And I throw this out to the audience too. You see the dealers that are going to NADA, are they going to be more focused on buying new solutions, or are they going to be more focused on either one of two things? I'm there to acquire stores, or I'm there to sell my store.
You're probably
based
right
on the fury of buying the last fourth quarter. I would assume there's a lot of interest in the buy sells. I think that's also going to factor into. I can't imagine being a principal sitting in the OEM meetings to hear what's going to happen when you're going to get inventory and come out of that feeling frustrated. And whoever has the deepest pockets, like, oh, you're frustrated. How about I buy that from you off your hands today? I think that can accelerate that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, Spencer, is there anything else you'd like to add today?
No, I appreciate the time. Hope that it was worthwhile.
Well, I would say so.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully your conversation with somebody from Cars later isn't too bad.
Again, I will be first to say it's a wonderful product. If it fits your advertising structure, buy it. Wonderful. I am solution agnostic.
Well, we're fans of that organization, so hopefully it goes well for both of you. So, yeah, with that, Rachel, yes, I'm glad you enjoyed it. We all are. And we'll see you all next week. And hopefully we can have Spencer on again. Spencer is not just a VLA expert. He's kind of a entire industry guru-ish. That's cutting you down. I don't mean to call you that. But definitely somebody who can chat on every level, and you can walk away from that conversation feeling like you learned something. So
I appreciate the time.
Sure.
Very kind of you to say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
This was fun. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here within the next year. Not just with this, but with everything. So.
Yes.
All right, man. Well, you guys have a good weekend.
See you all later.
You too. Thank you.